Wait, give me a second.
Do it.
Share screen.
Okay, I'll put myself on mute because...
I mean, we're not starting yet, so we're fine. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, Python basics for TE fundamentals.
Yeah, so I've made like 2 of these. So this one has all the code that we need to actually run the entire module for. Like everything is here. But it's a little too daunting. And for anyone who doesn't understand or hasn't done Python before, I thought that maybe this file that I've made will be a good beginning to like understanding what Python basics are, why we're using Python, why we made the design choices that we did. Also, is it too bright? Wait, let me shut this. Yeah. Like the design choices that we made in the code itself, and why we did that. So I think this will be a good refresher for people who haven't done Python in a while, and a very good introduction to module 4. I really think that I mean, I've also like added some resources that you can look up to and like follow along. But I think my goal is to just build this file out so well, like with comments and everything, that anybody can just read through it even without having the lecture itself. So hopefully, I mean, it's still not done, but I think it's good enough to at least run through. Can I understand everyone's background though? So I know Kojak and Ludra, I know Stella. Florent, like, do you have you coded before? I think you have, right? Like, you understand Python.
Yeah, I do. Yes.
Okay.
Not that well, but I mean, I introduced myself to Python for this one.
Okay, that's Hibiscus, right? Yeah, Hibiscus and Lakshman.
I have never coded. I taught myself a little bit the mere basics.
Okay, perfect. And Lakshman?
I have tried coding before. In fact, I did try to learn Python on my own for some time.
Okay. Okay, good. So, I mean, nobody's an expert here, so I think I know I'll be able to talk to at least some. I'll be able to add some value to people here. And do we wait for another few minutes? What's that? Also, Stella, do we plan to go through the projects too in the leftover time after we are done with this file?
Yeah, I think so. We should do that, right? Because I think everyone has voted. If you guys haven't voted yet, maybe cast your vote on the post that is up.
Yeah, I haven't yet.
What the hell?
No, I read through it. I was still deciding who gets my votes.
Now everyone will know that you're a deciding choice. No pressure.
Also, this one, Uriel added some like last minute idea generation thing. We should maybe consider that too, but yeah, let's see.
Yeah. Also, there has been a lot of like I'm not quite sure now if the TE fundamental, if the practical TE server will be kept intact or not. Like, I'm so confused. Anyone has any insights on that? Please.
I think the plan should be that we should keep it on, and it should just be community run, in the sense like a couple of us just become moderators just for the sake of it, and just let people like talk there, because why shut the server down at all? Like, it seems like a good niche. Yeah.
No, I mean, I just talked to Curious GTH and convinced him to keep it up, and he's agreed that he will. I mean, he's already posted that. And
okay, great.
Good job, Kojak. Good job.
And we are having a discussion tomorrow at Indian Standard Time, 3:00, and I think I'll ask him if others can join in, because I think ultimately we are not studying for the sake of studying. We wanted to do stuff with it, and T Practicals is exactly that, including all these particular initiatives.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I do think that.
You will
yeah.
not believe, I'm sorry to disrupt, but you will not believe who's here with me live and in person and in color.
Oh, hi. Let's go. Good morning.
No, but please, no, who's that? Please, anyway. Who's that?
Cat. That's Cat.
Oh, that's Kat Banas, is it?
Yeah.
I'm hopping on.
Is she joining too?
Like, yeah, shove my stuff away so you can actually sit. Huh? What? What, Roro?
Is she joining too?
Yes, she's joining now too. She's hopping on, as she phrased it.
Also, there's a good argument to be made that we should maybe consider pushing the call a little, like maybe half an hour later, 1 hour later, because it seems like people aren't getting up for the call since the daylight saving time changed, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's too early for Ratio and Strata, I think, to come this early, maybe.
The cat is
Strata
on
is
your
it?
side. Yeah.
No, I was just, chatting with Strata. So he's up. He should join anytime.
Oh,
He's
okay,
already
okay.
here. Strata.
Yeah, just join.
Hi, everyone.
But I still think it's a valid proposition because Kat was almost about not to join because it's very early.
Right, yeah. No, so I mean, we can
I'm
maybe
grandma.
like
What?
ask everybody if the time is ideal for them, or maybe push it for half an hour, just a little bit here and there if we can, as a group. But let's see.
I think if no one in this call is like against it, I would just push it now. Because
Yeah.
this is like the core group that I see here.
Yeah.
So if someone
Seeker is busy right now. He would have joined, but he has some other commitments. But yeah.
okay.
Or
No, I
are
think-
we saying to just like push it by 30 minutes or an hour? Is that
Yeah.
what we're proposing? Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I have a hard time making these sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, fair. That's pretty fair.
yeah.
Okay, I think I'll get started. If people join, I think they'll be able to follow through anyway.
Or maybe Lutra and me are in the same boat. We missed some of these meetings. So Lutra, if you have any opinions, feel free.
Lutra, share opinion.
Yes, I mean, for me, it would be 12:30 or 1:30 or 1 p.m. if you like. Everything would be fine for me. I just need to know it, and somehow I missed, that we met those 1 hour earlier. That was the reason why I was late at 2 sessions. But if I just know the time, that everything would be fine for me.
Sounds good. Okay. Then I will push it for an hour or half an hour. Okay, please show emoji reactions if you want me to push it for half an hour. 1. Okay. If you want me to push it for an hour, show up emojis now. 1, 2, 3.
Can I vote multiple times?
Fine. I'm pushing it for an hour. Sounds okay. Okay,
Yeah.
4. Fine.
I mean, the issue for me is that my Friday night goes away, but it's okay. I mean, either way, it was.
Oh no.
Rohan, what better way to spend it with your online friends?
Yeah, exactly.
You can grab a beer. And you can
Strata.
have a session with us.
Exactly,
Well,
Strata.
You're aware that this guy is like the youngest one in here, right? So he might
Yeah,
just
he's
have
too
a
young for a
life,
beer.
not like us.
Exactly.
He's
The
too
party
young
is
for a
going
beer.
to start lately.
No, this is
Is it?
this is the
that,
real party.
This is the real party. We'll send you beer. I'll send you a case of beer. Don't worry.
Oh, okay.
I would join to support you.
All right, perfect. We should have a drinking night one day. Like, I think once, like at least when module 4 is over, we should do a drink session. All right. Okay, guys. So I think I'll get started. If people can join, I will give them a brief introduction to what we are doing. But also, Strata, like, can you do you know Python code? Like, how familiar are you with Python in general?
So
Is that a question to me?
Yeah, that's true.
I have a computer science background, but I have to brush up on Python. I have in the past I used it back in. Well, I've used it a few. I'd have to brush up on it. It's very. I'd say it's weak, but.
No, but okay. So you understand the concepts, and
I have computer science background. I understand concepts. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So I'll jump in. Stella, are you recording? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm already recording all the ridiculous talk we've been talking. So you can start now.
Okay, so guys, let's start officially now. Like cut, take, whatever. So basically, the plan for this session is, so for at least for Python non-coders, or at least people who have haven't brushed up on Python yet, maybe the jump into module 4 is a little too steep, because if you look at the code that's written, it's like we're already importing libraries, we have dictionaries that we're using. Seems very complicated to people who don't understand what this is. And I mean, immediately the third code block is like functions, conditionals. It's a bit much of a jump. So I have actually condensed all the code that's there on Module 4 into one Google Colab. I will explain how to set up your own Google Colab. And the reason why I've chosen this, because we can actually, I can just show you. If you just type Google Colab, and it ends up opening up a file that also is my video getting stuck a little, or is the speed okay? Stella?
Yeah, I think you're okay. You're a tiny bit delayed, a tiny bit.
Okay, you know what? I'll shut my OBS because I think it's taking up too many resources. Maybe. Yeah, this should be better. Okay, so basically, when you open Google Colab, it should open something like this. There's an option to. You might not have any notebooks, but you can just switch on a new notebook. Which creates basically a Python, it's called an IPython notebook or a Jupyter notebook. And what these are is like it's like a Python environment where you can start coding. So I can write whatever, Python code out here, like a is equal to 5. I can just start basically doing math too, because Python does have those modules. It takes a bit to set up. It starts connecting, it'll initiate, and it'll run the code that's on it. You can additionally also add text. And this is for explainability of your code. So I can basically, have headings, explain what the code is. So generally, when you run Python, you have to set up Python on your computer. You have to maybe download a software like Anaconda, which helps you do the entire thing. You write a file on a notepad, and then, or some kind of integrated, development environment. You write your code, then you run it on a terminal. It's a bit too much for someone who just wants to write code and understand code, right? So Google Colab is a great tool. I can just switch it on my browser. It runs Python. I can, explain the things that I'm doing, and I can share the file with everybody. So anyway, so the point being, these are the two files that I made. This file has all the code that's there on Module 4, from start to finish. But it's a bit too daunting. That's why we have Python basics for T fundamentals, which I'm building out. The goal out here, the motivation basically is, since it's too steep for non-coders, we are going to attempt to cover all the topics that we need to just get from looking at the code and being scared to get to, hey, okay, I understand why we've made the decisions that we made and why the code is set up the way it is. You'll be able to read through it. You'll be able to not be scared by the syntax, because at the end of the day, the code that we have in Module 4 isn't too complicated. All it is the syntax is scary. The way it's written is just okay, what is happening here? We have no clue. So, obviously reach out whenever possible, to ask questions. I've added a note for beginners, because at least when I started coding, it was really scary. And I started in an engineering college where I thought everybody already knew coding. So I didn't know that if I can ask questions. There's very stupid things that I got stuck on for almost months and up to years. Well, later I just realized, oh wow, if I just ask someone to help me with setting up Python on my computer, I wouldn't have been stuck for this long. So there are many things I feel like if you think the question is too stupid, still ask anyway. Like, get in touch with people. I'm here to help always, and I really believe that coding is a tool in your tool belt that you can use to solve problems. It's not that you're a coder or a non-coder. No one's born knowing any of this, so don't be like afraid of this. And yeah, like a lot of times you Google this stuff, like there'll be people who'll say, hey, this code is bad, you shouldn't write it this way or that or whatever. Like people are very like dogmatic about certain things, because our goal is to solve problems. Even if your code takes like 5 minutes to run, at the end of the day, if the problem is solved, we really don't give a shit, like whether it runs in 10 seconds or 5 minutes, right? We need to just be able to solve the problem itself. We are not here to optimize a code for Google or something, like, so don't get bogged down into the details of how good your code is, how bad your code is. As long as it works, we've accomplished our goals. These are the resources that I'm going to follow. I'm going to add a bunch more, but I think honestly, you basically just need W3 Schools. W3 Schools is a website where if you open the Python section, it has pretty much everything you need for Python. Every single topic in Python that you would need will be here, like pretty much. Like if you want, we open the variable section, it'll explain what variables are, how to use them, how to print them. If you click on this, it even opens an environment where you can actually set X as a variable, assign it the number 5 and print it out, and you get 5 here. So you can actually run this and make it work. This is a great resource, so use it extensively. Also a point that I'll add is do not get bogged down by the syntax. Don't think about, oh, should there be a colon here or there, whatever, right? Like the way I code is literally, I forget how loops are written, I forget how functions are written. I just I just Google, hey, how to write a list in Python. I'll get this, I'll copy paste it, and literally that's how I'll add a code block. I'll literally copy paste it here and make the changes that I want to. That's literally all I do when I code, just copy paste constantly from Google. So don't think that if you don't know the syntax, you've forgotten anything. No need to memorize, just go with it. Okay, now that we are done with all of that, these are the basic things that we need in order to understand everything in Module 4. We need to understand what comments are, what variables are, basic data types like strings, integer, float, some logical statements, predefined functions, lists, dictionaries, functions, whatever. All of these things are pretty much, if you understand this, you will comfortably be able to go through Module 4 and even start writing your own code. If we look at the code itself, right? These are import statements. This is the dictionary, and this is nested dictionaries. This is a function, and within functions there are conditional statements. So we'll cover all of this. Maybe not today, but at least maybe 1 or 2 sessions, and you will get to a point where you'll look at this and you'll be like, okay, I know what's happening. I understand what is going on here. So I thought, so again, and I've added links to every section. So variables and types, if you just click this, you'll get to what variables are. You can just give it a quick read. They're it's a tiny file, it's not much. The basic point is also these are comments, by the way. So comments are basically, it's something that Python will not read. It's something that we write so that we can communicate with each other. While we are coding, if I have made a decision during a code which is slightly complicated, I'll write a comment so that basically later on when I go back to the code, I know what I did. It's just a note to myself, but it's also it's good practice to actually write comments so that other people who are looking at your code know what's happening. So this is an example. In this code block, we will assign the value 5 to a variable A, and we'll use the predefined function to print out the variable. And this is what is happening. We defined a variable. Now, what is a variable, right? A variable, basically, for us to understand, is just a container. All it is there's this letter A, that or word, you can write word, letter, word, number combinations. There are certain rules about what not to do, but basically anything can be a variable, and you assign something to it. And later I'm printing A. So before this, if I were to, let's say, if I just type print B and I have not told Python what B is, it is going to shoot an error. It's going to tell me, hey, I don't know what B is, right? Name B is not defined. But if I write a line here and I say B is equal to Stella is super cool, and I print it, we will, B will become whatever this is. Now, what are the things that we can put into variable? The stuff that you can add is like integers. You can add strings. Strings are basically just words, letters, etc. There are floats. Floats are like decimal numbers. And you can like print all of them. So this is an integer becomes a container for whatever this is. This is a string becomes a container for this. And once we print it out again, you'll get, these are, by the way, it's showing results already, simply because I have run this file before. For you guys, maybe I can, isn't there a way to like, okay, anyway, whatever. Basically, yeah, so like when this is another way to print things. We can add, like in the variable 1, variable 2, variable 3 separated by commas, and it will print them all together. If I add another line with a print, this line will print on a new line instead of side by side. It's worth mentioning what print itself is. So print is basically a function that's predefined by Python. So Python has a bunch of like, predefined things that you don't need to rewrite constantly. And you can use these predefined functions, pass them an argument, and they'll give you the result. If you don't know what they are, you can just put your cursor on top of the predefined function and it'll tell you it's a built-in function called print. And again, Google it, you'll understand immediately that, hey, this is what it is and this is what it does. Here, basically, what I've tried to do is I've assigned a variable called cats. We can print variables along with other statements. So I can write, hey, I have cats, which basically means I have, this will be the container, which will end up having 10 on top of it. Also, should I zoom in a little more? Is my screen visible to everybody? And let me know if there is something I can add.
No, yeah.
I mean, like, there's some questions that are.
I think it's very visible. Okay. You're good?
I can see it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, this is a variable. We tried printing it. We got the result. I have 10 cats. I reassigned this should change. Cats. I reassigned the variable to 2, and this is something you can do. And now, if I print the same statement, I have 2 cats. Basically, you can change. You can assign variables. You can reassign them. You can make changes on them. You can understand the type of a variable by printing the type of this is an integer. This will tell you that it's an integer. This is an integer, by the way, was 2 that we had defined. So type is again predefined function, and we can look at it if we hover this. It takes one argument, and basically it will tell you the object's type. Now, this kind of format is kind of complicated to look at, but you'll get used to it. This basically means all the arguments that you add in type, and we can get into this later. But basically, when I print the type of anything that I don't know what the type, that I want to know the type of, it'll tell me. That's all data types. That's basically all we need to know. There's not much to it for module 4 at least. Then we move on to data structures. Now the thing here is that what we want the code to do at the end of the day, and this is where I really want to spend most of the time, where there are many ways to solve what we are trying to do. Like when we are trying to model an AMM or whatever, right? There are many solutions to the problem. You can solve all of it using only lists. You can solve all of it using dictionaries. You can find ways to do everything through variables. Like there are ways to do it. There's some better and some worse. in the sense that it's easier for us to understand certain ways of solving the problem. The main goal I have is like, why did we choose this? Like, why did Octopus or like whoever made the course, right? Like, why did they choose this complicated way to set up like the state of what an AMM is, like what the state of an AMM is? And I think we'll build to it by the end of it. So when we get there, in like let's say 20 minutes, I think you'll be able to understand what that code block basically was. This is a basic data structure called lists. Lists are a series, like it's generally sequences. So if we go through the Python list on W3 Schools, we'll see that most of these are basically ways to store a series of things that you have. Lists, by the way, store the location too, like so in the sense like the first thing that, like when you've stored Apple in the first section, Apple will always remain as the first thing. And there are maybe other data types where you can store a series of objects, but it's unordered. So this is an ordered way of storing things. When we print the list, we'll get like the list back. So yeah, this is what I'm doing here. When you look at the type of the variable which was the list, it'll give us that it's a list. This is where we can actually start looking into, wait one second, let me print this too. Like you get the idea. Like you can have, we can have a set of fruits. We can have a set of fruit colors. So what I tried to do here, my goal was that I know I have a bunch of fruits here and I know that their colors. So one way in which I can let my code know that this fruit has this color is by setting the first variable to, like first element on the list as apple, and the first one in the fruit color list as red, second one as banana as yellow, kiwi green. And the way I can ask the code to print out what's there as the first element of my list is by typing out typing out the list that I want to call and putting a number. 0 is where we start counting in computer science usually. So 0 will print out the first one, first will print out banana, second will print out kiwi. So we can actually check it out. So 0, 1, 2 is how it goes, right? So I printed out fruit 0, it gives me apple. If I print out fruit color 0, it should give me red, right? And it does give me red. I'll remove this for now. This is a little complicated, but basically, okay. So when I want to, one way for my code to know that, hey, apple has the color red, is what I can do is I can write a loop. So loops are another very important element of coding. It's where you can ask your code to actually keep on doing a certain task again and again and again. And this is where actually like coding really helps you, because repetitive tasks are something you can just very easily do through loops, where I can write for I, which is a new variable that we are assigning, in the range of 0 to 10, or let's say 20, whatever we want. I'll say print I. So what will happen here is it will repeat the task again and again and again. And it will increment I from, it'll start with 0, then it'll go to 1, it'll go to 2, it'll go to 3. This, by the way, like, this is a feature of the for loop. Whatever variable you put here need not be I could literally define something as, strata, and I could print strata. And now strata trader keeps on increasing in number by 1 every time. Now the thing here is, like, this is how like loops are very powerful. Yeah, these are loops are really powerful because they can do. I can have 200 and it'll keep on like doing this task, and it happens way more quicker than whatever than what we can do. So that's where we get to here. What I'm trying to do here is, since I realized, hey, there are 2 lists that I have. Both of the lists, the first element connects to the first element, second connects to the second, third connects to the third. One way that I can tell my code that, hey, these 2 things have are supposed to be associated with each other is I can write a loop which goes from 0 to 0, 1, 2, and I print fruit. So I take, since we know that I is going to go from 0, 1, 2, when in the first run of the loop, I will be 0. It'll read the statement, hey, let's print fruits 0, which will print this, is equal to fruit colors 0. So that's what it printed, apple red. Then this loop got over. It went to the next iteration. I became from 0 to 1. It fills fruit 1, fruit color 1. It prints banana and yellow. Then it prints kiwi is equal to green. Right? This is one way to associate two lists together. Now, this is what we kind of want to do when we are designing an AMM. This is something that will come in use, because what I need is, there'll be many traders on my AMM, right? And every trader will have certain properties, like, hey, this trader has this much ETH. The trader 2 has this much, some other amount of ETH. I want to associate those two things together. This gets too complicated. Therefore, there's another data type, which is something called a dictionary. And this is what a dictionary is. The way the syntax goes is you have curly braces to define it, while with lists we had, if you saw, square braces. What this does is, instead of having, elements as 0, 1, 2, and just having the elements, we label every element that we have. We have key value pairs is what we are doing. And dictionaries themselves, you can actually go through out here. And I'll add the link there too. But basically, okay, this dictionary, the brand is Ford, model is Mustang, year is 1967, right? So it is a way of having information about certain things that you want to describe in your code, but you have key value pairs to do it. Now, if we go here, this is what we're doing. We are, instead of having like two lists with the elements having like association, we have one entire dictionary where apple is red, banana is yellow, and kiwi is brown. And the way I can call this dictionary is I call the dictionary itself, which is the variable that we define, and have a square bracket and call apple, which is the key, the first part of it. And it will give me red as the associated color with it. Now, why is this the data type, the data choice that we went for to define our state in module 4? Simply because if you look at it, this is a dictionary, right? Curly braces. We have AMM, we have trader, and we have liquidity provider. All of them have certain, what do you say? This is, by the way, a dictionary within a dictionary, and we'll get to that too. I'll break this down even further. But basically, if you just, ignoring the syntax, if you see what's happening, we have an AMM, which has 100 R1, 100 R2, 100 S, and 0 fees. We have 100 R1 for trader, 100 R2 for trader, and 0 S. R1 is asset 1, R2 is asset 2, and S is the pool shares. So we are basically trying to build towards a way to describe the state of our system that we have. And dictionaries, nested dictionaries, in fact, are the best way to do it. And the way I was going to go about explaining it is through this. Like, we have a fruit dictionary where I don't just want the colors. I also want certain other properties to describe my apple. Like, because maybe in my fruit store that I'm going to build now, I want my code to know that, hey, the color is red and number is 10, because maybe I want to sort them by color. Maybe I want to sort them by numbers. Maybe I want to know which stock of my item is less or more. Like, these things I need to do, and I need, this is like the data structure dictionary will be a very good way for me to do it. I'll define what fruits I have through apple and banana, and I will add the properties that they have, color, number, right? This is the one way to do it. The way I can print them out and call them out of that data is calling fruits dictionary, calling apple, and now it gives me a dictionary itself. And I can go even deeper, right? I can look into apple, and now that I have color and number, I want maybe the number out. So I can call the fruit dictionary, call out apple, and call out number, and it tells me how many apples that I have, basically. Has everyone followed till now? Do you have any questions? Because we actually jumped quite a bit of steps in order to get here.
This was really perfectly great. Thanks so much. At least for me, really wonderful.
Okay, yeah. So my hope is that more than, because forget the syntax. Like again, syntax is something every coding language will have different. What we need is to be able to understand, hey, this is the real world that's there. I want to build an AMM. I want to build this thing. I want the AMM to have these properties that I want to save. And every step of the way, I need to know these properties to know how my AMM is performing. You need to know what is the perfect way for me to store the data. What is the perfect way for me to evolve that state?
Right.
And state is something, again, like is a word that I think I'll keep on using because that's the way we think about these things. This is the current state. There's a genesis state that is called. And once like we swap asset 1 for asset 2 and certain changes happen in the system, we'll end up getting a different state. So I don't know if they've used that term, but yeah, so we evolve the state using some actions. Mm-hmm. So that's something we're going to build towards. But basically, if you've understood this so far, I think we are pretty much already like gotten to the point where you'll be able to read a bunch of stuff that's already there and understand why the code was written that way. Yes, Stella?
Maybe just quickly confirm via emojis how everyone feels. Are you guys good so far? Give us a thumbs up. If you're not, feel free to give a thumbs down.
Yeah. Or unmute yourself, ask questions. I'll make sure to add more comments and more explanations so that this becomes a standalone document that we can share with the whole, everyone doing TE fundamentals. But let's see. So basically here, I thought that maybe we can actually build together and think through, maybe let's say we have a fruit store, right? And we want to open a fruit store. We want to know like, hey, like the store itself has certain inventory. Stella comes in and she has a bunch of like fruits. I have a bunch of apples because I love apples. And now the question is how, can we actually build something through which I can, I can trade with the store, I can trade with Stella, and I can have my code represent those trades and actually do it for me. Because that's the thing, right? Okay, so one sec, let me just go through. If we've gone through this, so we've actually covered comments, variables, basic data types, logical statements we haven't done, and I can do it right now. Predefined functions we've covered. Lists, dictionaries are something that should be clear. Functions are a very important part which we haven't gone through. Also, by the way, another super secret thing is that shortcut is that whenever you're on a code cell, you can type shift and enter and it'll run the code again or like the first time. So instead of pressing this button to run the code, which also you can do, you can just type shift and enter to do it. Okay, anyway, let me go through the last two topics that are there. I've not written it up, but we can just like on the fly do it. Logical statements are something like, is 0 equal to 0? And it should give me true, right? This is a logical statement. Is 1 greater than 2? And it should give me false, right? So logical statements are basically comparisons, greater than, lesser than, things like that. And these are very, very, very powerful, by the way. It need not just be, since we use 1 equal to signs to assign, 2 equal to is what is used to say, hey, is this equal to this? First one, if you just write a equals to 5, this is how I'm assigning a value to 5. So in Python, this is something that it's, it's a historical, it's just something that's used. Double equal to sign is what you have to do. If you want to say greater than or equal to, this is something you can do. But yeah, this is also something like you'll be able to find in W3 schools if you go to Booleans or conditionals, I think. But get used to this idea that you will have to keep on going to Google, keep on going to these resources And to anything that you don't understand immediately, your first response should be, hey, does Google know this? Anyway, we'll find it somewhere. Where conditionals? Maybe it's if-then statements? No. Oh, if else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are conditional statements where like you have equals to, not equals to, lesser than, equal to. And these will be powerful because when you're writing a code and you want to check that, hey, Stella wants to trade like 5 apples with Roro. The question is, does Stella have 5 apples first, right? So what we need to do is 5 less than or equal to how much Stella has? If that's true, only then go with the task, right? So that this becomes quite a fundamental part of our coding, part of our code. Let me get back to it. Yeah, so we have conditionals, we have functions. Now functions are something like print is already something we are used to. So like if I type, print this, it'll print this. This is a function. It has a name and it has arguments. It is something that you pass. So like I can make a function called the adder. So I can make a function called adder, which will take 2 arguments, number 1 and number 2, right? And what it will do is print out. It will first add the function. So it will added sum is equal to num1 plus num2. And I will print it out. And when I do this, nothing happens because I haven't called this function yet. I haven't told what numbers to add or anything. Yeah. All I've said is, at some point in my code later on, there is a task that I'll have to keep on doing again and again. And therefore, I'm just making a very simple tool, which is called adder, which when I just pass the 2 numbers, it'll just give me that printed sum. And this can get like really complicated. So by the way, like if we just look at our code in the AMM, all of these are functions like add liquidity, swap to asset 1, swap to asset 2. It's doing a bunch of things. And since this is something like swapping asset 1 with asset 2 is going to happen again and again in our code, I don't want to keep on rewriting it. And therefore I define a function that will do all the steps. And all I have to do is pass state and inputs to it. Which is what I'm going to do here. So like if I define the adder, and if I say adder, let's say 5, 15, it should give me 20 at the end, right? So that's what a function is. It's a block of code that is, and that's how you think about it. It's a block of code that I'm going to reuse again and again. And I don't need to constantly look at what's happening inside. I just want to know what are the inputs, what are the outputs. That's all I need to define. And that's what functions are at the end of the day. If we remove all of this, we can get to basically we have this store like data, and I hope everyone's comfortable with reading this now. That this is fruits data that we have. There's a store, there's Stella, and there's Roro. All of them. This describes the apples that they have, the bananas that they have, the kiwis that they have. There was another decision that I could have made. I could have written the code in such a way that I could have I could have defined, store, and I could have written it this way, like just 55, 20, and 35. Since I know that first one is always apple, second one is always banana, kiwi is always 35, maybe I can keep that as I can just do all the calculations that I need to do like this. But dictionaries are more descriptive. Anyone who will open the code again will understand exactly what we are doing here. And then we'll add comments to actually explain it later on. So here, another thing that I need to do is explain is that if I call the fruit data thing and I just print it out, this is ideally you would want me to write print and do this. Like, I had a print function and then print this. The difference is that on Google Colab or any IPython notebook that we have, whatever is the last cell of the code itself, like of the code cell, last line of the code cell will be printed by default. So it's, again, ideally you should add print to everything so that you can maybe like you copy paste it into a Python file, which will be a text file, but this works for us right now. So fruit data prints out all of these things. What if I want to know how much Stella has? All I need to do is say fruit data and Stella, and now I know she has apples, bananas, and kiwis. What if I want to know how many apples they have, Stella has? This will give me the data of how many apples. What if I want to know, does Stella have more apples than Roro? So I can add another thing called fruit data, call the function and check if Roro has how many apples Roro has, and print it out and see false. So Stella has less apples than Roro. Whatever. Like, there are things that now we can start doing with this, and we can, once we have this data structure set up, we can actually play around with it. Let's define how would Stella and Roro trade apples with the store or something like that, right? Like, maybe that's something we can do. So let's first just try to update the data. Let's say that Roro ends up growing 10 apples. Like, I have an apple farm and I want to grow 10 more apples. One way to update the data is, all I have to do is call the dictionary, call out Roro, call out apples, right? First, let's just print it out to see how much it is, and let's add plus equals to 10. I'll explain what plus equals to does. So if I check my fruit data Roro again, I'll have 110 now. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. What this actually is doing is the same thing as fruit data. Like, I'll copy this. These two things are basically the same. Equals to whatever this was right now plus 10. This would do the same thing.
Plus equals.
Right, so if I print now, it will become 120. But this is just a concise way of writing that whatever this variable is, we'll add another 10 to it. And if you look at, see, plus equals to DA1, minus equals. This is the thing that they've used in our code itself. So I'll keep it like this. Maybe I'll explain it better in our notes, in the comments. But basically, that's what we're doing. We're adding 10 apples to whatever current state of the apples were out here. Now, that's maybe another tool we can use, right? Like, I can say that anytime a trade happens between Stella and Roro, let's just do it. We'll define a trade of apples, right? This is something that can happen in our system, and let's think about what would that function have? Like, what would the trade involve? Let's say that what all information that we need, right? We need to know who is trading, how much are they trading, and what are they trading, right? So maybe one way to do it is, let's say I can have person 1, what fruit they are trading, and the amount they are trading, right? Mm-hmm. Let's keep it, fruit 1, amount 1, and we can have person 2, amount 2, and fruit 2. This is a terrible way to do the code, but I'm just going through the decision making of how to make this better. Like, because no one looks, like, most people, at least when they're starting coding, they wouldn't be able to write this out from scratch. They would do one step at a time, right? They would first do instead of, like, currently they have just written inputs. An input seems to be a list. Like, for example, if you go here, there should be an input list somewhere. Let's just search for it. Inputs. Sorry. At some place they've defined inputs when we are coding. Anyway, we'll figure this out. Let's not get stuck here. This is too scary for me to. Basically we have so all of this information will ideally be put into something like a dictionary or a list called inputs. So that instead of, like, filling all of this up, maybe we can just have one list which has all this data. But basically, if I want to do something like trading apples between person 1 and person 2, trading of fruits, let's say. So we can also define what fruit they are trading and how much they're going to give for the other thing. So what we need to do here is something along the lines of, one sec. Let's say Stella trades. Is this getting too complicated? Like, or should we go?
No.
Okay.
No,
fine.
I'm loving it.
Okay, cool.
I think so far we're good.
Okay, cool. So what we basically need to do is have fruit data and have Roro and let's say Roro basically is going to trade apples because that's all I have for let's say kiwis are 20, 200. We have too many kiwis, Stella. Yeah, let me delete this. Okay, so what we're going to do is basically try to fetch apples. Try to fetch, like every trade, let's say, what we want to do is, we want to say that Roro trades 1 apple for 1 kiwi. Okay, we can start with simple. So, I can define, I'm thinking about how to start this and make it explainable. Fruit data and Roro and apples and plus equals 1. Minus equals 1, right? Because we are going to subtract 1 apple from Roro every time this trade happens. And what we want to do is fruit data, Stella, kiwi, minus equals 1. Does that make sense? We're going to subtract 1 apple from Roro. We're going to subtract 1 kiwi from Stella. We're going to add add a kiwi for Roro, and we're gonna add this thing, right? Apple for apples
Plus equal
for Stella. Does that make sense? So this basically defines the trade, right? Roro loses 1 apple. Stella gains a kiwi. Loses a kiwi. Roro gains a kiwi. Stella loses an apple, gains an apple, whatever. We can put all of this inside a function. So I can define a function which is trade of fruits, right? Have some arguments which I don't know what they will be, but I know this is what I want to do. Also, Python has this thing that within a function, all of the things that are inside the function should be indented. Only then they'll be counted as within the function itself. It's a syntax thing which we can get used to over time. So this is something that should work and it should do the trade. So if we actually even remove this, right, and if we just unindent it, I think this should work, or it doesn't happen. And if I try to run this, it should actually do the task. Because currently, let's say print fruit data, and let's print fruit data after. How much time do we have, Stella? Like, is this okay? Should I continue doing this?
Yeah, I think you're getting so close to finishing this up. Let's just go.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Because we can continue this next time too, but yeah, let's just finish this one part. So basically, yeah. So I printed the data before the trade. Store has nothing to do with it. Stella has 10 apples, and Stella has 11 apples after the trade. 200 kiwis and 199 kiwis, right? So the trade actually worked. We actually got this done. And this is basically how I write code too. I first break it down into small segments. I check before and after the section of the code is things working well, and then I would put it into a function. So what I'll try to do now is define that trade of fruits for the 3rd time or the 5th time, I don't know what I'm doing, and copy all of this in and indent all of these. So now we have a function which should do this thing. Ideally, the thing is, this currently the way it's working, right? All it's doing is taking, always trading between Roro and Stellar. Maybe we want to trade between the store and Stellar and the store and Roro. So this is something we need to change, right? So what we can do is define that person 1.
Make it more abstract.
And amount 1 and fruit. And then person 2, amount 2 and fruit 2. Fruit 1. Right? We can do this. We can pass it here. We can say fruit 1. So we can, instead of Roro, we can pass person 1. Instead of Roro, we can pass person 1 again. And instead of Stella, we can pass person 2. And pass person 2. Maybe I'm jumping a bunch of steps, but I think if you rewatch this, you should be able to understand. The person 2 will have fruits 2. So we'll write fruit 2. Fruit. This will be fruit. Apple will be fruit 1. Fruit 1. And we can write fruit 2 here. So if that makes sense, like what I'm doing here is fruit 1. Fruit 2, yeah. What I'm doing here is basically, first I wrote a specific trade, and then I tried to generalize it, right? Amount 1 can be written here, amount 1 can be written here, amount 2 should be written here, amount 2. I think I might have made a mistake here, but let's see how this goes. Yeah, so we can define this, and what I can do is, let's try trade of, let's say first we print out fruit data. So we know what the state of the system was. And now we trade of fruits. And we add, person 1 is Roro, right? Person 1 is Roro. What Roro is doing is trading 1 apples. 2 person 2, I'm reading this by the way, 2 Stella for 1 kiwi, right? That's what we are trying to do. We printed out before and after, and I'm sure I made a mistake, but let's see how it goes. Yeah, so store has nothing to do with it. Okay, so it did work that apple for Stella increased by 1 and kiwi for Stella decreased by 1. So that worked. Apple for Roro decreased by 1, kiwi increased by 1. So yeah, I mean, this is basically, if you understood this, or even if you didn't understand this, even if you got to the point where you know that if easily broken down you get this is basically all the code in what we're doing. What we're doing here is Genesis state, right? The Genesis state has AMM, trader, and liquidity provider, just like store, Roro, and Stellar. AMM has R1 of 100, R2 of 100, doesn't matter what R1, whether it's an apple or like it's a token 1. This is the supply that's there. What we're defining here is a function that's taking the state, which we haven't done yet, but we could do that. It's taking the state of what it was currently, taking the inputs will be something like basically all of this information, but written into like one variable, like a list or something. And what it's doing is first saying, hey, which agent did the action? How much did they trade? What is the fee factor? Doesn't matter for us right now. How much will they get? They're swapping assets, right? So DA1 is how much of asset 1 they have. DA2 is how much of asset 2 they have. This is the math function that we studied in module 3 for AMMs. This is the exact same thing that we just wrote out in Python. And basically here all we are doing is the thing that we did. That first we check whether the trade is possible or not based on how many, whether the person has DA1 amount to trade or not. That's all we are checking here. And then we are running the code of if this trade is should happen, we have the state we want to change. We want the AMM R1 amount to increase by DA1, agent amount to decrease by DA1, amount to increase by DA2, decrease by DA2, whatever, right? So this is exactly what we did out here. but we did it for our AMM. And this is all the functions. Like this is swap to asset 2, swap to asset 1. Add liquidity will again basically do the same thing with certain like other things that we're adding. Same thing for remove liquidity. And if you actually see what happens is you have a genesis state. We want trader to trade 10 of token 1 and swap it to asset 2. And we did get that, like that. RA1 went from
when it gets abstract.
Genesis state trader had amount 100. It became 90. And they had 100 of R2 and it became 109 because of whatever function that we defined out here. Okay, so I covered too much ground. We can break this down again the next time. But if you understood this, all the code is basically this. We are just trying to define it, and we are trying, like, if this much you understood, we have all the building blocks to actually understand the rest of the code.
I'm okay.
And we can like maybe go through this file the next time and break it down step by step.
Make my own notebook and
okay, let me know if you'll have any questions or if you want any clarifications. And I'll share these files with everyone so y'all can go through this, and I'll make changes over time. Restricted, yeah, okay.
Yeah, should be restricted.
Yeah, this is the file.
It's just like changing things.
And this is the file for the entire code that we have for. By the way, I've made a bunch of changes in the other one. In the code that, the module 4 code. I've made a bunch of changes, but they basically do the exact same thing. I just tried to make it run better on my system.
I'm just looking at that.
Change some variables here and there. That's pretty much.
All of this. I'm like, what is this for? I don't understand when I'm.
Okay, that's
what is this?
That's the session. Do you all have any questions?
How liquidity is being removed from an AMM.
Okay.
Yeah, but
great session, Rohan.
Help.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well explained, man.
We're just switching around on this page. I'm like,
great job, Rohan. We'll go through and then we'll bug you.
Okay,
really great job. Really great job. I'm very, very thankful for that.
Okay, thank you. And Lutra, I hope you were able to follow even the decisions. Why is it that we use a dictionary? Why is it? Was that something that is well communicated? Because I think that's the goal of the thing.
That was for me really
it's really
perfect.
helpful for me.
Okay, right.
This while
and basically, what we can do here, right? Once we've defined this function, the point is that
without
instead of the whole point of functions are that instead of having one particular thing defined one way, you can have a generalized function like swap asset 1 with swap asset 2 or trade of fruits. And now every time I need to do a certain task, I don't need to redefine Apple and kiwi trade with Apple and mango trade, or otherwise every single different trade I'll have to redefine what exactly happens. Here I can just write one single function which has certain rules. We've abstracted away the core of what a trade is. We wrote it into a function and just input all the things that the function needs to know, and it'll output the things that that we need to change. You have to see it as a black box, inputs, outputs is ideally the way we should go about thinking about this.
I think maybe was just discussing with Kat. I think maybe it could be a nice exercise for all of us in here. If for next time we just come up with our own fruit store version. So we were debating on, doing Alana's candy store or something, blockchain candy store. Just to really take in what you went through with us today, because I'm totally fine until we get into the def function. This is where it becomes more abstract. I'm having a hard time switching in my brain. But
I thought so too, because we have also really rushed through that part, because functions are a complicated topic. I mean, and I just gave one example. What I can do, maybe for everyone, is after the weekend, I'll spend maybe Saturday and Sunday to make this document a little better. I can add a bunch of exercises at the end of it. So I can just write simple exercises so that you guys, and maybe we can discuss this and get to it, so that if y'all are able to do those exercises, y'all will get a much better grip at, okay, what functions are, what lists are, dictionaries are, why do they, like how to use them with each other. And the core element is, don't expect yourself to just keep writing line by line and like just the function should work or whatever. That's not how this goes. Like, I first wrote the fruit data, like, part. I first wrote it separately to check whether it's working. Then I put it into a function. Then I changed all of the parameters. And I do this because, again, I've been coding since a while. But for anyone who's starting out, like, keep making incremental changes. Like, it's a entire loop. Like, you do it 5-6 times, make one change at a time, and see whether your change is actually reflecting in what you want to do. Don't think that, hey, you'll be able to write a function like this in like one go, because even like experienced coders can't. They would take sections of this, write it, check if it's working, and then keep on adding to it. That's generally how things are coded. Don't be daunted by the size of the file or the amount of things that are there, because nobody writes it in one go.
Brad, you're very, very great. Because even with experienced developers, right, you have to plan the design of your how you're going to even write your code. So that's such a key information that you gave. Hey, you refreshed my memory. I had a quick question. I don't know about others, but in the previous section, so going back to my algebra, math days and calculus days, I've I've hired some tutors from universities to refresh my memory in calculus. Have others refreshed their memory, or do others have a good grasp on some of the module 3 algebra and math? Because I'm just going through the proofs just to kind of refresh my memory on how you can modify certain forms of an equation to get a different result. I was just wondering if others had gone through that and have brushed up on their math skills that maybe I can just connect with.
I would love to teach math to anybody out here. Like, I'm open to doing that session too.
Then you and me, brother, or you and I are connected. Done. I'll connect. If there's anybody else, feel free to jump in. I find that
I will jump in just at the refresher, because my math days are a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, I was getting excited as I went through the equations, and it was refreshing my memory, but there's still some proofs that I haven't fully don't remember, and so Rohan, I'll reach out and maybe we can have a little math refresher.
Yeah. Also, the calculus. So we actually pretty much breezed past it in module 3. But they had mentioned, at least the differentiation or finding the slope of things on a point. These are
first derivatives and stuff like that.
Yeah. The thing is, when we go deeper into token engineering, you'll have stuff like partial derivatives. You'll have stuff because it's never going to be just one variable with another variable. You might have 10 variables, and you need to understand how a change in one variable changes the other variable. That's when you start needing partial derivatives. So we could do a tiny calculus or math refresher for the group too.
Yeah, I think that would be, for me at least, I would send you a lot of applause for that, because that's something that I think it's a little bit needed for some of us who want to go, who like math, who want to go into the details. I'm just trying to refresh up. So that's great, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I would like to add the applause.
Add what?
Add the applause.
Add the applause.
Okay.
Same from our side, I think, right? Thank you.
So if you're,
I was going to say, Stella, you have an Ethereum bindi on your forehead, and I'm like, is that a real bindi on your forehead?
No? Now I have it.
Oh, she has it now. Oh, wow.
It's
okay, so this is cool. Okay, I'm gonna have to start using these. That's cool.
Yeah. Also, it will help if y'all can maybe define the areas of math that y'all are having trouble with. And again, it could be as stupid as whatever, right? Like it could be very basic, but the point is, if you have this doubt, I'm pretty sure other people will have this doubt, and other people will benefit from actually having a refresher or having a more in-depth like analysis of the things, like constant product rules, constant sum rules. Maybe if we want to understand what are the effects of having a constant product and constant sum, because that wasn't really gone in, like we didn't go too in depth of that, and that's a very important point. Like, why do I choose a constant product instead of a constant sum? So maybe we can have discussions on that too, because I think it's very relevant. And Seeker, by the way, had a bunch of questions around that. Like he wanted to, like for his project, he wanted to come up with some, some kind of math function that would do what he wanted to do. And that discussion also I need to have with him. And if that's interesting, maybe we can do it with the group.
Actually,
very interesting. That's where my head's at too. Yeah, so that's why I needed to go into details.
Is that still all modules?
Because there's certain properties that we have in mind. Like these are the things that I want to do. And this is what I want to achieve. Then what math function will allow me to do that? Or what kind of equation should I write to do it? How do we even go about thinking about it? I think that could be a very important discussion.
Module 3, but
Would be very useful. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. And also something that Kat said, maybe we should, like, I know some of you already finished and everything, and some of you really want to get the exam for module 3 done, but maybe for next week, like really focus on the math questions in module 3. How about that as like a focus point just for that one session, and go through those like really specifically together?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Okay.
Great training at least.
We could do that, and also since when I'll finish this document, I'll like the last section of the document will have those exercises. So I'll make sure that they're accessible, like they're not like too much of a leap, and maybe there could be a section for hard questions. So like the easy questions are something that you just get used to, what functions are and things like how to use them, and we can have harder section. You can make a copy of this for yourself and like just solve it there itself. Also, didn't go through importing and stuff. There's certain things that we didn't cover, so we can do math and maybe Python next time. I don't know. We'll see.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also then we get everyone to the point of being able to really comprehend module 3. And something that could be also super helpful, Florent, would you be able to put the link to the question sheet in the chat again, so that everyone who's still here gets it?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome, thank you. Because Florent did a lot of work putting together this Excel sheet that holds more or less all the questions that are coming up. So pre-studying questions always helps getting better scores. I think that will also be super useful.
Yeah. And also, like, if you guys, one thing that you should do immediately is open up a Google Colab and just copy paste certain Python things that you find on Google, or maybe something that you find on this file, and see if you're able to run it. And if you can't, then ask me questions. So just get it started. Like, just open a tab and get it started, and you can just add stuff there too. Yeah.
Thank you, Rohan. I just requested access through your link there. I think you had a request, so I did it for both of them.
Okay, let me figure out if I can remove that setting, because anyone with the link, okay, I'll have to change the link, but I'll make it so that anyone with the link can make changes. Can you check if this one is working? Also, whenever you go through, Python tutorials, perfect. So you can make a copy of it and like try to run it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It works now. Perfect. Thank you.
And I was saying, like, if you go online and find Python refreshers or Python crash courses or whatever, right? Like, the goal of this was like a very directed approach to like just learn the things that we need to, because otherwise it's very easy to get bogged down by all the things that you need to learn for Python, and you'll end up like learning all kinds of like data types and data structures and this and that, and it's like it can get out of hand very quickly. So ideally, my goal is I want to build this out so that it's like, you know, it has a boundary as to, okay, these are all the things that we need, and that's all we need. Yeah.
Really awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And we are. Do we want to spend the next 15 months talking about the projects, or are we not?
I'm not sure how everyone is feeling. Maybe this has been to the point
Quite a heavy one.
just being digestible for today. So maybe let's push off the conversation to next week and in the chat. And also then at some point we should have figured out if we just make a thread for the project we want to run, or if we indeed get our own channel for it, because it's still not decided.
I think we should have some time to discuss it, right? And now doing it with 10 minutes on the clock or something like that wouldn't be, I think, good for choosing such a project.
Yeah, I agree with you, Lutra. And also there was a lot of information already to take in. So let's keep it easy and smooth.
Right. I've pasted both the Google Collab links on our Visual Learners channel and on this thing. Can you, Stella, can you make sure like both the links are something you can open?
Yeah, the first one I already did. Was working fine for me. I already made a copy. And the second one, opening fine.
Yeah, perfect.
I can run it, I think.
Yeah.
Wait, it's running. Takes a bit, sorry. Also, I clicked, of course, on the one thing that says function swap to asset 2. So sorry. But yeah, I think it's working. It's working fine.
Right. So I've added you all as viewers, so I think you'll have to copy the file to your drive and then run it.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do it. Thank you,
Rohan. Thank you guys, and like I hope I was at least clear. And if there's any, since I'm also learning how to like teach these things, if there's any like criticisms, comments that you all can give, it would be great for me. Also, can we take a screenshot? We forgot to do this. I'll add it on the...
right. We forgot the screenshot taking, guys. Yeah, let's get your faces in here. Come on.
And smiling.
Yeah. Florent, hibiscus cultivar. Come on. If Strada can do it in his morning robe, we can do it. All of us can do it. Wait, Florent is getting there. I see spinny dots. Seeing spinny dots from hibiscus cultivar, who is like taking off his little band-aid. We figured you out, man. Florent, you're not showing up. Do you have a second camera attached?
Oh, is that the reason?
Yeah, I have to switch between cameras to have her wear the bindi. So Florent, should we just quickly wait until Florent hops like out and in again, so we can take a real picture? Because for me, he's spinny dots.
Look at us. It's making us very comfortable with sharing our cameras. This is great.
Right? Being all out there. Okay, I was just going to take a screenshot now. Okay. Okay, no, not like this.
Nice.
Okay.
I have a llama cut by there, guys. I don't know if y'all can. It's too bright. There's a llama on it? I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Guys, you're good. All your faces are on screen.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Even I'll drop off now. Right?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
See you, everyone. Take care.
Thanks, Ron.
Bye.
Bye.